It is 6 o'clock. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. If you would, please rise. We'll ask Pastor DeArmond, please come forward and give us our invocation.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council members, for the opportunity to pray. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we come into your courts giving thanks. Thank you for your peace, for your love, for your wisdom, and for your guidance. Let us remember that even with having all the knowledge this world can offer, we have nothing if we don't have love. Love is the greatest gift that you give us. And your word says that you, God, are love. May you stay the center of all that we do. Lord, I lift up our council members, our state officials, and our president of these great United States. Lord, today as many parents and students are enrolling in school, I lift up our teachers today, and I bless our school year. Lord, I ask that you give our teachers guidance and wisdom as they teach our city leaders of our future. Lord, I pray for our students, that you would give them understanding and wisdom in all that they do and all that they're learning. Be with us as we set time aside today to plan for the future and govern this great city we all call home. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Pastor. This time, Councilmember Gonzalez will lead us in the pledges.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
You may be seated. We do not have any proclamations, awards, or presentations. Next, we move to citizen comments on non-agenda items. Ms. Grimaldo, we didn't have any cards. Okay, next we move to the consent agenda. Do we have a...
I move that we remove item D and E so that we may discuss it later. Oh, G? Sorry, D and G.
Okay, we have a motion to remove items D and G. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? These two are removed from the consent agenda. Now we need a motion to approve the rest of the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item D, consider an ordinance to establish a reduced speed school zone reduced speed school zone. Mr. Feldman.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This item is for an additional reduced speed school zone. It's going to be in front of Zavala Elementary on Clifford Street. The typical way the agreement goes between the city and school district is school district purchases the equipment, city installs and maintains it. That's what this agenda item is for.
Okay. Are there any questions?
Where? We're talking about what street?
Directly in front of the school between, it's going to be east of Hickory, right in front of the school.
What school are we talking about?
Zavala.
Zavala.
Any more questions?
So they've not had it.
There's an existing school zone on Clements on the backside of the school. This will be an additional one in front of the school.
Front side.
Yes. Yeah. And the one on Clements stays in place. This will be an additional school zone.
Okay, any more questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So,
A motion, your second.
second.
Motion and second, any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Feldman. Item G, consider D&O liability insurance for ODC. Mr. Wells.
Good evening, Council. When the Odessa Development Corporation was first created, initially the corporation had directors and officers liability insurance. It continued to have it for several years until, my recollection is 2014. The premium for different types of coverage varies over the years. Sometimes things are more expensive than others. The premium for the D&O back in 2014 went up precipitously. I don't recall the exact number, but it was a good deal more in that year than previously. And a decision was made to not continue it. So we didn't. I was talking to Joel Roberts, who, as you know, serves as the legal advisor to the Odessa Development Corporation a few months ago, and he was looking over the budget for the ODC, and he came to a line item for directors and officers liability, which I believe they had allocated $3,000 premium for that. And he called me and asked me if that was enough, and I said, well, you don't have directors and officers liability. That was discontinued back in 2014. And we discussed it a little bit, and he said, well, you know, what do you think about that? And I said, well, if I were simply being asked for my advice, I would advise that you have it. Most boards of directors of most corporations, not-for-profit and for-profit, have some form of directors and officers liability. Even relatively small organizations find that we live in a litigious environment, and you can be sued for anything, or you can probably be sued for nothing at all, and frequently are. Personally, I would not serve on any organization's board that didn't have directors and officers liability coverage. But in any event, we said, well, let's get a quote. And we did. And that quote became a proposal. We appeared before the Odessa Development Corporation at their last meeting and made this proposal, and they agreed that they thought they ought to have that. To give you a little background, the real insurance for the board of directors of the Odessa Development Corporation, and for that matter for the city council yourselves, because you have a form of directors and officers liability. For public entities, they don't call it that. They call it public officials liability. And you have coverage. We have public officials liability under what we call a public entity liability package. It covers general liability, auto liability, law enforcement liability, and a host of other things, but it includes public officials liability. Your real coverage is through an ordinance of the city council that was passed several years ago. My recollection is that it was drafted by the former city attorney, Joel Roberts. Larry could correct me if I'm wrong about that. But the ordinance essentially sets forth that if you're acting in the course and scope of your employment as city council members, they will defend you, they will indemnify you, they will hold you harmless, they will pay any fees or any costs brought against you. That ordinance also specifically applies by an extension to the board of the Odessa Development Corporation. And in that situation, essentially the city is the ODC board's self-insured. We insure them, and then we have chosen to turn around and purchase public entity liability coverage. Our public entity liability coverage has a limit of $10 million, and it has what's known as a self-insured retention, might as well call it a deductible, of $250,000, which is not uncommon. When we took a look at this time around, we said, well, first of all, we start with the fact that they've got a $250,000 deductible. Secondly, there are always differences between insurance. The public entity liability package was not written to be a directors and officers liability coverage. It simply provides the coverage because there's no exclusion. Whereas the policy that we're proposing is specifically written for directors and officers and has the sorts of coverages that you want in there. For example, the legal defense, which is frequently the largest cost in a director's or officer's case, is in addition to the limit. It has a $3 million limit, but frequently you can have defense costs that will run hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. That is not subtracted from the $3 million limit. It is in addition to that. It also includes coverage for employment practices liability. The Odessa Development Corporation in some ways is a fairly easy client for me because they have no vehicles to worry about. They have no employees. They have no premises. Most of the exposures that a normal entity would have, they don't have. but they're still left with the liability for their actions. Just before I came over here this evening, I took the liberty of Googling economic development corporations and the words lawsuits and litigation. I would be there till midnight just looking at all the hits. I printed out a few of them, but there's clearly no reason why they can't be sued, and lots of reasons why they can, sometimes for reasons that are bizarre. So they thought they needed it, and so it was put on your agenda, and here we are.
Okay. Questions?
How much was this one?
The premium is $13,000 for a $3 million limit.
Okay. Other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Second. A motion and second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Thank you.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Wood. Thank you. Next, we move to other council actions. We'll open a public hearing to consider the approval of the request by Wanda Watkins Living Trust, City of Odessa agent, to rezone from Plan Development Office to Plan Development Light Commercial. Mr. Brown.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The city mailed out 18 notices related to this case. We did not have any notices returned. We did receive 2 written protests and 2 written approvals. The property involved in this request is located in the southwest corner of the intersection of East University Boulevard and North Hancock Avenue. This site is impacted by the University Boulevard widening project, and as part of the negotiation between the city and the property owner, the applicant has requested a zone change in order to build a small greenhouse that would be an incidental or an accessory use to the Blooming Rose florist shop that's immediately west of this site. And in return, the city is requesting a significant front yard easement that would facilitate the development of the cul-de-sac on the north end of Hancock Avenue. And if there's any questions related to the university project or the cul-de-sac, I've made Hal stay where he can answer those if there are any related to that.
I'm glad you said that because I kept reading about this greenhouse, and I'm thinking a house is colored green, not
Yeah.
a greenhouse, and I wasn't trying, I just
No,
couldn't figure out what people were trying to say.
a greenhouse, not a greenhouse.
Right,
So,
a greenhouse,
yeah.
not a green.
Right,
house.
right.
A
And
house green.
exactly. Land uses in this general area do consist of single-family and two-family residential development. That's single-family and duplexes, and there's also retail and commercial development in this area. The applicant and property owner in this case is the Wanda Watkins Living Trust, and as stated, the purpose of the zone change request would facilitate a greenhouse being developed on this property and also meet the needs of the University Boulevard widening project. The subject area is located in the northern area of the city's land use map. This area is considered a prime area for retail and commercial development that's backed by medium-density residential development. The proposed zoning is consistent with the comprehensive plan. And the Planning and Zoning Commission did approve the request with the following conditions: that the use of the property would be limited to the accessory greenhouse that's associated with the florist shop. There would be 4 paved parking spaces required to be put on the property. Building setbacks would include a 25 feet front yard setback adjacent to Hancock, 15 feet setback off of University, and 10 feet setback off of the interior or south property line. Landscaping per the city's landscape ordinance, which would include street trees on both the Hancock and University side, would be included in this request. And also, delivery trucks would not be allowed to access or exit this site through the residential development via Hancock Avenue. And also adoption of this site plan. And be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions?
So it's going to be part of the retail shop?
Yes, sir,
They're
that
gonna
is
grow
correct.
plants there so they can sell.
Right. It's just basically a storage or growing facility for delicate plants that they're going to sell at the florist shop across the way over there to the west.
'Cause I've noticed they've already built a fence.
Yes, sir. The fence has been there about a year, and they've had that up there for a year, and basically it's just to protect the property and keep folks from driving across it and stuff, is what they did on that.
Okay, other questions? This is a public hearing, so at this time I will open up the floor for any public comment on this agenda item. If you would, please come forward. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Do we have a motion? A motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed?
I abstain.
Okay, we have 4 affirmatives and 1 abstention. Next, we'll go to number 2. Open a public hearing to consider the approval of request by Sunoco Stripes LLC from zoning to light industrial lots 9 and 10, block 1. Mr. Brennan.
Yes, sir. The city sent out 7 notices related to this case. We did not have any notices returned. We did not receive any written protests, and we did receive a written approval related to this request. The property involved in the request is located southwest of the intersection of East Murphy Street and Market Avenue. This site was recently annexed into the city of Odessa. It is vacant at this time. Land use in the area does consist of industrial development and related uses and vacant land. The applicant and property owner in this case is Sunoco Stripes, and the purpose of the request of original zoning would facilitate Sunoco Energy Services fuel distribution center on this site. This area is located in the southeast portion of the city's land use map. This site is considered one of the main areas for industrial development in Odessa. The zoning requested for the site and the proposed development design is consistent with the city's priority for placing major traffic generators in areas that would have ready access to transportation corridors. And this will eliminate any traffic going through any type of retail or residential areas related to this site. And the Planning and Zoning Commission did give unanimous approval to this request, and the staff does concur with the recommendation for approval and be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Okay, at this time we will open up the floor for any public comment on this agenda item. If you would, please come forward. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Do we have a motion? A motion and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item 3, we'll open a public hearing to consider the approval of the request by Real Property Resources for a site plan approval of 170 single-family residential lots. Mr. Brennan.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. This is just a bit unusual from what usually occurs in this North Park development. Usually the site plan is approved or considered along with the zoning request. However, Beatonbow at the time needed the property to be zoned for some of their specific reasons, and they weren't ready for the site plan, and at this time they are, so we're considering the site plan at this time in conjunction with what that zoning is of that property. The property involved in the request is located northwest of the intersection of East 87th and proposed Evans Boulevard. This site is zoned planned development single family. It is vacant. Land use in the area does consist of residential development and vacant land. The applicant and property owner is Real Property Resources, and the purpose of the site plan request is to establish, as stated, the development standards for 170 single-family residential lots. The site plan is associated with the North Park Addition 20th filing, and as stated, it's related to the planned development single-family zoning of this property. The site plan indicates a minimum lot size of 5,000 square feet. However, the average lot size for this portion of the development is 6,836 square feet. Building setbacks and lot coverage are also indicated on the site plan. The plat that's associated with the request notes that there would be no driveway allowed on the thoroughfare street of Evans Boulevard, and also there would be no reverse traffic that's allowed onto Evans Boulevard. The Planning and Zoning Commission did give unanimous approval to the site plan request with the following conditions, and these are the conditions that have been established through the entire Beatonbow development in this area. That the minimum required lot area would be 5,000 square feet. A front yard building setback would be 20 feet with 15 feet setback in a cul-de-sac. Also, a side yard building setback would be 5 feet. However, the side yard setback would be 10 feet adjacent to a side street. Rear yard building setbacks would be 10 feet on properties without an adjacent alley. Maximum lot coverage for the primary building would not exceed 50%, and maximum lot coverage for all buildings, primary and accessory buildings, would not exceed 60%. Maximum building height would not exceed 2 stories, and also adoption of this site plan. And be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Okay. This time we'll open a public hearing. If there's anyone who would like to come forward and speak on this, please.
Mr. Mayor, I do believe this is not a public hearing. This is just approved. I believe that's
It says
correct.
Public hearing.
Okay, I stand corrected.
If anyone would like to come forward. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Do we have a motion?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Brennan.
Thank you.
Item 4, consider amending the City of Odessa Code of Ordinances by adding Section 8-1-27 entitled Social Host Accountability. Mr. Long.
Thank you, Mayor. As you mentioned, this is the social host ordinance, and it's on for second reading. To give a little bit of a rundown on it, it was proposed to prevent underage drinking by providing a penalty for anyone that is furnishing a location for such drinking to occur. It would be deemed a Class C misdemeanor. Due to the efforts of some people, they prevailed upon us to put in a minimum fine of $250, which we felt like was appropriate for that type of an offense. And that is the only change from when we submitted it for the first reading. And if y'all have anything.
Just that we're very honored that this is up for the second and final approval, and knowing that as this moves forward, it will be a deterrent for adults allowing minors to drink in their homes or on their property. And that's the goal, is to keep our children safe, our youth committed to the things that they enjoy doing, and that does not include alcohol, as well as helping our community remain safe and healthy. So that is our goal, and we look forward to seeing the MIPs and the MICs going down as this is put into effect and goes into law.
You know, you brought some young people with you tonight. Would you mind introducing them? I'm so proud of them.
So we have 2 individuals. We actually have several members of our coalition, and our coalition is the Here to Impact Ector County Coalition, and our focus is a healthy community. So we have several of our coalition members on board, and then the 2 members here, we have a sophomore from OHS. We have people come forward. And if you want to introduce yourselves real quickly.
I'm Christian Hodges.
Uh-huh.
I'm Kaylee Smith.
So, and you're a freshman, correct?
Yes.
And then a sophomore. Yes. So, we would have had others, but they're at a teen leadership conference in Houston right now. So.
Well, we appreciate y'all very,
Yes,
very
thank you.
much.
Y'all ready for school?
Yes.
You said the ugly word.
Are there any questions from council?
Good job. Good job.
Yes, sir.
Was 250 the max fine under, I guess, the Class C misdemeanor that we?
No, sir, because this is a health and safety measure, it can go up to $2,000. So it just sets the minimum at $250. It can go anywhere from the $250 to the $2,000.
Okay, and that would be at the discretion of?
It would be either the jury if it's a jury trial, or the
Okay.
judge, or the prosecutors with the judge's permission.
Great.
So it can go up.
Any more questions? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved. Everybody moves.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Congratulations. Thank you all. Item 5, consider amending Section 8-1-2 of Chapter 8, offenses and nuisances. Mr. Long.
Thank you, Mayor. This is really a housekeeping ordinance. We have discovered that one of our ordinances was contrary to state law on the transporting of air guns, BB guns, that sort of thing, and their introduction into city parks. And we have reformed our ordinance to conform with the state law.
How does that?
The law is they can carry them. And if you have a gun permit, you can go into a city park with an air gun, which makes sense.
A gun permit for a BB gun?
No, if you happen to have a gun permit for a weapon,
CHL.
a regular weapon, yeah, a regular CHL.
Wow.
Okay, any other questions?
That's the only way you can go into park, correct?
Yes.
Any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Have motion and second, any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed?
I'm opposed. I don't care.
The vote is
I think it's
4-1.
wrong.
Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Long. Thank you. Next to the resolutions, consider Dobbs Law Firm Infrastructure Grant.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we table this.
Okay, motion to table.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Okay, we have a motion to table, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? No motion. We'll get it next time.
Okay, thank you.
Number 7, consider award for the contract for the purchase of ERP software. Mr. Phillip.
Good evening, Council, Mr. Mayor. In 2012, the City of Odessa established a technology service plan to serve as a guide for improving technology infrastructure. The transition to a new ERP software was a goal that was listed on that plan. Through the help of Council in allocating funds and the direction given to us, we hired a consultant, Signs Consulting, and we issued requests for proposals for this software. This software would encompass utility billing, finance, and human resources applications. The total cost for the software, we did receive one bid, was Tyler Technologies. The total cost for this project would be $1,985,346, and the implementation time would take approximately 1.5 years. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
The only question I have is, not a question, but a request, that when this is purchased, that you also make sure that they have the financial package so that each council member and the mayor can have access to that. It will be read only. And when they're doing the training, they will need to include us in on one of the days so that we will know how to operate it.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Please.
Any more comments? If not,
And I want that to be part of the motion.
Okay, that will stand as a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Number 8, consider approving a consultant service agreement.
Council, Mr. Mayor, this agenda item is in conjunction with the previous agenda item for the ERP software. This would allow the Signs Group to continue working with us as a consultant through the implementation of this software. The total cost for this is $84,000. We are very happy with the service that's been given to us from Signs. They've been with us since day one on this RFP process, and we think it's the best interest of the city to keep them on board with us.
Any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Thanks, folks. Next, under miscellaneous, the appointment of boards and officers. Ms. Grimaldi.
For the Community Development Advisory Committee, appoint Wilton Blaylock. For the Board of Survey, appoint Jesse Yanis. And for the Zoning Board of Adjustment, reappoint Edith Vanderburg.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. That concludes the agenda. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? We are adjourned.